Yeah, so I guess one of the main questions I get asked is what can a virtual assistant do? And the answer is almost anything, but not in one person. And so I'll tell you the sort of virtual assistant most people get as their first virtual assistant. It's a detail orientated doer, someone who can do the reconciliation, can send out the client agreements, can do all that administration in the background, juggling calendar appointments, cleaning your emails, searching this thing, all that extra admin stuff that you don't really want to be doing yourself, and you don't really want your existing Australian team doing either.
Welcome to How to Build a Profitable Nutrition Business. If you love nutrition and you love helping people and you want to be in the game long enough to keep doing that, then this is the podcast for you. Let's get into it. Today we're welcoming back Carmen Williams. Carmen recently spoke to us about LinkedIn and email marketing and how she grew her business to over $2 million in revenue. But today she's back to talk to us all about VAs or virtual assistants. If you don't have a virtual assistant in your team, then this is an episode that I think will blow your mind. We've had VAs in our business now for the best part of 8 years, and they've transformed our business for the better. Let's get into it. Welcome back to another episode of How to Build a Profitable Nutrition Business. If you tuned into our last episode, you would have met Carmen Williams, who is 50% of the brains behind global teams. And last time we were talking about LinkedIn marketing and email marketing, and we got a little bit diverted because Global Teams is actually a company that helps Australian businesses, maybe New Zealand businesses potentially as well, recruit VAs and use VAs in their business. And so for those that don't know what a VA is, I'm going to hand straight over to Carmen to discuss that and just enlighten our audience on what a VA is and what they can do.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Chris. I'll tell you a little bit of a story. I just started my first ever business and I quickly realized that I needed to get support doing some of the doing so that I could rapidly do marketing and grow my business because I had this burning platform. I was a single parent, 2 kids, mortgage, and I just decided to go for it one day. And so my first ever virtual assistant actually helped me with LinkedIn marketing. She sent connection requests. She made my content look beautiful. She distributed it. She started conversations with people. And then my job was like to harvest the goodness that came from that. And from there, I just got a taste of what good support looks like. And I need to tell you, Chris, it gets addictive. So as I got more support, I'm like, I want more of this. And then I found more things a virtual assistant could do. And then one day, one of my really good clients said to me, Carmen, I've tried virtual assistants before, but they didn't work. Could you help us? And I'm like, nah, he'll distract me. Anyway, so she eventually did it for her and it has distracted us. We've now got a team of 125 in the Philippines and also South Africa now supporting business owners, like you said, mostly in Australia. It's been a journey. So what is a virtual assistant? Basically a super intelligent person who's working virtually, in our case, they're in the Philippines and Australia, supporting people in their business.
Perfect. That's a great summary. I briefly spoke about this on our last podcast, Carmen, and just to reiterate for those that missed it, our experience with VAs is when we had our dietitian business and Stace come to me, my wife, she come to me and said, I think we should get some VAs just to help because it's such an admin heavy industry. And I was actually a little bit against it. I'm like, no, we should be employing Australians to do this work. And rightly Stace said, to employ an Australian to do a lot of the admin stuff that we could get a VA to help us with, then we could then employ more Australians, which is exactly what happened. We actually went from a team of kind of 2 or 3 up to a team of 18 that we just couldn't have got to if we had to employ an Australian to do a lot of that admin heavy task. And rightly, I was also worried too, because you think, you pay a lot less than what you'd pay in Australian, which is why it's appealing, if you like, from a business perspective. And then I'm thinking, are we ripping these people off? I didn't want to, you think Nike and sweatshops and all that. And it's not like that at all. We pay a decent wage in Philippine terms. And so what that does is it's win-win for everyone. And I think with the way technology is now, you're almost mad not to use it. Like our VAs are amazing. We've had them now for I think 7 and 8 years together. It'd be close to that, and they just do such a good job in so many facets that we are just terrible at. they really complement our business. So when we sold our business, we actually kept our VAs. We got rid of everything else, wiped our hands of it, but wanted our VAs. They were so good.
That's amazing. And I get two types of business owners coming to me looking for virtual assistants, Chris. One is the first type of business owner, like I was at the start, which was I didn't have, it wasn't feasible for me to pay someone in Australia to do this stuff. Like it was either I was going to do it or a virtual assistant was going to do it. They were my only two options. But also, what I'm getting more and more, Chris, are people that have already got teams in Australia and they know how hard it is to hire in Australia and they want to keep their Australian team sane and happy. And so they're getting virtual assistants to not just free up the business owner, but to free up their Australian team members. So the Australian team members can do those higher outcome tasks that they really want to do, like for example, communicating with the clients and loving them up, while the Filipino staff or virtual assistants do the background sort of administration and other things. And it because these business owners know they need to keep their Australian staff happy because otherwise they're just going to run away.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Look, so true. That was certainly our experience as well. Like it allowed us to have our Australian staff, which we were then able to employ. By the way, we couldn't wouldn't have been able to afford to employ them initially, but then we grew our business and then allowed us to employ sort of reception staff there in Australia. That they just had different roles. They weren't in that engine room doing a lot of the data entry stuff. And our VAs are so much more than that. But yeah, I can certainly concur with what you're saying there. Carmen, what you've got, what do you say, 125 VAs that you've got out there. What kind of work are you seeing them do mostly, or is it really diverse across the landscape?
Yeah, so I guess one of the main questions I get asked is what can a virtual assistant do? And the answer is almost anything, but not in one person. And so I'll tell you the sort of virtual assistant most people get as their first virtual assistant. It's a detail-orientated doer, someone who can do the reconciliation, can send out the client agreements, can do all that administration in the background, juggling calendar appointments, cleaning your emails, searching this thing, all that extra admin stuff that you don't really want to be doing yourself, and you don't really want your existing Australian team doing either. Then once most people got that detail admin doer person in place, then they diversify and they go, oh, let's get someone who's visually creative and can do awesome marketing, or like you said, you get one of your virtual assistants to build Kajabi websites and things like that. And so once you've got that admin in place, then people can get excited about all the other possibilities out there as well.
Yeah, ours. So we've got two, and one, any sort of website changes. One is basically a wizard with that, and she works on all the back end stuff for us. And the other is like a design guru. It's like Canva is in her DNA, and just like the things that she can create. The presentation. If I need to put a PowerPoint presentation, she sort of rolls her eyes and then we'll turn it into a Canva presentation that grows legs and is just so amazing. Or like all of our social media. And so that they've just got a skill set that we certainly don't possess. And so they've become a real asset. They actually are part of our family now. They'll edit this podcast and they'll probably laugh at what we're talking about here. But yeah, no, they're a really welcome part of our team. Something that Stace, my wife, deals with more often. She'll have people ask about how have you kept your VAs for so long? And I think from our experience, it's really, I think people go into this thinking that they'll just hire a VA to do all this stuff they don't want to do and expect them to know exactly what to do off the bat. And then they churn and go through VAs or they have a bad experience. But Stace has, like us, we make mistakes. I make more mistakes than anyone in my business. And so you can't expect the VA to be like a robot that just is perfect all the time. They make mistakes just like we do, but it's all about sort of training and upskilling and being patient and evolving with them. And so that, I think, is a really important expectation when I'm talking to people about it. But I stress how good they've been for our business.
Yeah. And I think it sounds like Stacey's done an amazing job of it. What I love to support business owners to do when they first start with a virtual assistant is work out what they're going to delegate on day one.
Yeah.
because you might actually want your virtual assistant doing 50 or 100 things in your business, but what are the first one or two things you're going to do? And so I'd choose things that are low context, so they don't need to know everything about your business, high volume, but also low risk. So, for example, it might be reconciliating every time you go to Coles petrol, that's petrol.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Or it might be going through your emails and not responding to things, but it might be there's a certain type of email that when this is the action to take. You forward it to that person and you file it here.
Yeah, yeah.
Or it might be responding to a commonly asked question. So I'm sure in your nutrition businesses, they've got questions that they get asked all the time. One of the questions we get asked is, how much does a virtual assistant cost? We've got a standard response to that, and my virtual assistants do that. They also update the CRM as well. So if we do get a lead, they update that. A salesperson has a conversation and then they tell the virtual assistant the outcome and it gets updated again. So it's all those in-between bits that you can get your virtual assistant to do.
The systems are really important, Carmen, aren't they? 'Cause just listening to what you're saying, if ever there is a problem through something that we've asked the girls to do and it hasn't happened, 99 times out of 100, it's because of our communication. Stacey and I are not great at communicating, but we've got ideas running through our head and we probably don't focus. But like with the technology now, you can do a Loom or a screen share video, systemize what you're doing. So you would go and do it once, screen record it, and then put that in a planner task, and just so that there's really systematic. Do you find, are we on the right track there? That is what you'd
Yeah,
recommend?
I love screen recording. It's one of my favorite ways of sharing information or getting support from my team. I think people get a little bit overwhelmed with the whole system idea of everything has to be documented, I's dotted and T's crossed. Let me tell you something, Chris. I speak to a lot of business owners, and I think almost every single business owner, their business is a bit of a mess. But it doesn't mean you can't. It doesn't mean you can't get support. You just need to have enough sorted for when your virtual assistant starts. So
Oh,
when your
yes.
virtual assistant starts, you have enough sorted to teach them the one or two things. You know how like you jump and you build your parachute as you go? That's how most business owners are. That's what I find. And so if you jump your virtual assistant starting on Monday, we need to work out what are the one or two things you're going to delegate to them on Monday and how you're going to do that. All right, cool. They've got that now. What are the next one or two things? And so, yes, you do need to delegate, you do need to record your screen, you do need to have it clear enough to be able to share it, but you don't need to have beautiful systems all perfect in your business to get support, because otherwise it's never going to happen.
Yeah,
What
don't
do you
wait
say?
for
There's never a good time to have a baby.
No, it does not. That's another podcast in itself. Carmen, like what with global teams, because our initial process was we went through a company and the girls,
Yep.
like we would pay them. And I obviously won't name the company, but like the girls were getting not a good deal, you know.
Mm.
So eventually we got the girls to come out with us. We employ them directly now, but we do hire us office space off a
Yeah.
company. What's the situation with global teams?
Yeah, so there's a few different models. So you can hire directly, you can find your virtual assistants and do it completely directly. You can find them, you can pay them yourself, they can work from home, and you can have no third party at all. The other model is the model that you're using, which is the work pod model, where you can get support to hire them, and then they've got an office space. And then, so that's like the semi-independent model. And then you can get the fully supported model, which is what we have, which is where we support you and your virtual assistant to work together. So it's not just like everyone comes to us going, oh, could you find me a good virtual assistant? I'm like, yeah, we can. But that's like focusing on the wedding, not the whole marriage. So people come to us when they want it to be easy. They want it to be more likely to work the first time around and more likely for it to stick because we've got support for the business owner and the virtual assistant. So it's more expensive to go through us than to hire direct, but you're paying for that extra support. So our virtual assistants are paid really well. We structure it to incentivize them to stay. So we actually give pay rises every quarter, and there's all sorts of other bells and whistles. Our virtual assistants say that they stay for the community. And so we've got training for the virtual assistants. We've got what we call a love team for the virtual assistants as well. So if something goes on, or they're like, I spoke to Chris this morning and he's having one of his crazy days and he's not making any sense, like this is how to work with him. If their boyfriend leaves it, whatever's going on, there's someone in my team to talk to and get support from. And so there's options. And I guess it just depends on where people are at, what the best option is for them.
Yeah, my recommendation to anyone listening to this is certainly go with that model first, at the very least. And if you've got a great company, you would stick with that model without doubt. We were lucky in that, like, sort of trained the girls up. And the big thing for us was actually internet, reliable internet over in the Philippines, because they do have a lot of sort of blackouts and there's unreliable connection sometimes. And the girls do like working from the same space, they're in the same office together. Having that model that you've got, I think, is what we would have recommended long term. It was only that company that we initially hired weren't, like, the deal was not very good for them, so we got out of it.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, obviously, it'd be great to have people come to us, but that's not my primary thing. I just want to support people to work better with their virtual assistants. So a lot of people listening to this will already have virtual assistants. So if I can support you to communicate better, and to create a better environment for your virtual assistant, I think that's the thing that's really important. So, Chris, you spoke about checkpoints, which is one of my favorite things around delegation. So when I delegate a new task or a big task, instead of just going and saying, hey, virtual assistant, could you come back to me in 2 weeks, all done? And then I have a look at it in 2 weeks and it's not what I want. What I do is, hey, this is the big picture. Could you go and do this little chunk? And then let's catch up in 2 days. And then they show me, and then I'm like, oh, okay, maybe they've misunderstood what I said, or maybe I haven't been clear, or maybe they've shown me something I didn't even know that I wanted. And then I get excited and then I change the scope. And so it's those checks that I think are really, really important when you're delegating and you want a big outcome, but you break it down into bite-sized chunks.
Yeah, that is so true. I think if there's a shortfall with our VAs is that quite often they lack the confidence to recommend, or, like, they're very black and white. They'll follow exactly what you ask them to do. And quite often, like, you'll go, that's not what I wanted, but you'll go back and look at your communication and go, that's not what I asked them. Like, it's on me. I didn't ask it properly. So those checkpoints are really, really important to really guide what they're doing. They're amazing. We still struggle to get the girls to, come up with ideas. Like, they've got ideas, but I just don't. They'll sort of pick up and run with them as much because they're used to our zigzagging and mind going everywhere kind of thing. So that will probably scar them a little bit. But yeah, certainly those checkpoints would be a great idea.
Hey, Chris, can I share some ideas around how to encourage? I think the word business owners use is initiative and like idea generation from your
Yes,
team.
I love
Um,
that.
Now, it's no magic answer. Like, I think this is a journey that you go on. And so when my recruitment team hire people, they look for people who've already got that desire in them a little bit, like who've maybe demonstrated that before. So it's, obviously it's about the selection in the first place. But then my love team have got training for the virtual assistants around this is how Australian business owners think. They don't think that they're up here and you're down here. They think that you guys are a team. And that because in the Philippines, if you share something with your boss, apparently your boss will go, who do you think you are? Like, trying to show me up. And so my love team just goes, that's not how these weird Australians, they're really crazy. They love it when you have ideas. So it's about sharing that. But then as a business owner, what you can do is you can just go, I love it when you share ideas. And sometimes, especially at the start, my team would share ideas and I'll be like, fuck, that's really shit. That's so off the mark. Like, I don't have the context. And I have to really control myself and go, thank you so much for sharing. And whenever my team do share a really good idea and it gets implemented, I now share it in the broader team as well. And so it's like showing examples of what's good. Thank you so much, Jong, for recommending we add this step to our sales follow-up process. We just converted another person because of that. Well done. And I celebrate that within the team.
Yeah.
And so another thing I've done with my team, because one of our leaders said to me, Carmen, they have ideas, but they don't want to share them with you. And so then I put them on the spot. I said, all right, next time we meet in a week's time, I each want you to come with one idea of how we can improve this marketing process. And they all came to me with an idea. They all had an idea. They could all see things in the process that I couldn't see.
Yeah,
And
right.
so obviously you might not do that on day one with your virtual assistant, but just to have this expectation, to set this criteria and then make it as part of their work. And now my team, like I've got ideas coming at me left and center. It gets a bit overwhelming sometimes, but it's about nurturing that because
Yeah.
it often doesn't come naturally, like you
No,
said.
it doesn't. It doesn't, does it? Yeah. Amazing. Well, I mean, we could talk about this probably at length, but I appreciate the time you've given me, Carmen. Just to wrap up, and you may have a resource on this, I'm not sure, we didn't talk about this, but if you don't have a resource, maybe just brain dump a heap of tasks that someone could get someone could get a VA, sorry, to do in their nutritional dietitian business or health business.
Yeah, beautiful. So I've got heaps of resources on our website around what a virtual assistant can do because it's our most commonly asked question. So you can get that at globalteams.com.au.
We'll put that in the show notes. Is that all
Yeah,
right if I grab a
beautiful.
link? Yeah.
So, but just off the top of my head, you can get them to confirm appointments. You can get them to send out agreements and make sure they're signed, or make sure a particular thing is filed away and named in the right way. Like I just chuck things away and I can't even find them, and my team just make it look all beautiful. You can get them to help you market yourself on LinkedIn. So connect with potential referrers on LinkedIn, send them messages. They can grab your content that you've produced. So you might have written a blog or done a video, and they can do some like video editing and post it on social media and then post your blog on your website. Like it's just, they can rejuggle appointments when someone goes, oh, I can't do Wednesday anymore. I hate juggling appointments myself, but getting support to do it's really amazing. They can send reminders to go, hey, do you want to organize that recurring appointment that sort of fell through the cracks? And so they can do stuff for you as a business owner. They can also do stuff for your Australian team as well. And so they can do bookkeeping, like the possibilities are endless. And so one thing that I like to do is we've got resources and to give you heaps of examples of what virtual assistants could do. But what I encourage everyone to do is actually to write down what you're doing and work out what you don't want to do. And then see if a virtual assistant can do those things.
Love it. I love it. We'll grab the links put it in the show notes for anyone that wants to just consider this. And obviously we'll put your contact details. So if anyone's interested, they can start a conversation with you and reach out.
Beautiful. Great to have a chat, Chris.
Amazing. Thanks, Carmen, once again.
Thanks. See you.
Do you find this podcast valuable? There may be other nutrition professionals out there will also. If you like, share and subscribe, it's going to help other nutrition professionals make an impact on the world just like you. Thanks.